Hey guys, it's Sonia and welcome back to my channel. Today I have yet another video on limerence, but this is like a very important question for many people going through limerence is um can their limerence turn into love? Okay, I've been receiving this question almost every other day for the past couple of weeks, and although I've explained it before, I think it warrants another explanation again. Um because it's a really important question, right? Like, will it turn into love? Can my limerence turn into love with my limerent object? I can answer this question here now, but let's not. Okay, so let's dive into the video. We will kind of start with a recap. Okay, so what is the nature of limerence? And if you're going through this and if you're watching this video, you would know limerence is a very intense longing for a person that feels like very profound infatuation. There are lots of intrusive thoughts and feelings and everything else about the person throughout your day. A lot of these things only happen in your mind, in your what I call fantasy land. Um, and there's also a lot of cherry picking of certain qualities of your limerent object, right? Seeing certain things and not seeing other things. And it's also more likely than not your limerent object is probably not really available to you in some way. They are probably physically not available or emotionally not available. They are taken, or they could have had rejected you before, probably, or maybe they are a celebrity. Okay, and limerence as a whole feels very difficult to break free of because of the many habits, the many neurological associations with limerence. Okay, because it actually has it changes your chemistry of your brain, and the habits and everything locks you into this very addictive state. What a lot of people don't realize is that limerence is a form of addiction. Okay, it's not in the DSM, which is the diagnostic manual for um I think it's mental disorders, but um it's actually a form of addiction. Okay, because the habits that people actually engage in limerence, where you are checking social media, you're constantly thinking about them, and the feelings that you get with them, it's equivalent to a dopamine high, and this is why it actually leads to changes in your brain. Okay, because dopamine is a it's a very pleasurable thing, but it's also a very scary drug. A drug as in like it's in your head. Okay, it's something that's produced, it's a neurotransmitter that is produced by your brain. It's also why there are people that are addicted to so many different things, because dopamine is the thing that actually keeps um keeps them feeling very pleasured by their activities. Okay, so that is the nature of limerence. Let's talk a little bit about the nature of love. Okay, love is this very elusive thing that I don't think anybody in society has really satisfactorily what's wrong with my English today, explain what love is. But to me, having read a lot of Bell Hooks, she's this sociologist and this late author, um, who actually wrote a lot about love and society and sociological constructs and things like that. I feel that her definition is one of the best that I've actually seen in a while. So to her, love is the will to extend one's self for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Okay, and she also takes this definition from the work of M. Peck Scott. Okay, um, really, when I read this definition, I always think how many people, like how many love stories have I seen around me that actually is a definition of this? Personally, hardly. Okay, almost zero. Um, the thing about love is that there are seven components. Okay, there's care, there's affection, there's recognition, respect, commitment, trust, honest communication, and a lot of other ingredients as well. But what is holding all of it together is the nurturing of another person's spiritual growth. Okay, there's also reciprocity, there's also emotional availability. Love is not about loving someone who doesn't know you, or liking someone who is in another country and who isn't very sure about you. It's about a person showing up in your life and wanting to actually share something with you and wanting to build something with you. Okay, contrast that with emotional unavailability that is always present in limerence. Okay, very different. There's also the acceptance of flaws. Okay. Love encompasses the acceptance of the other person's flaws and involves getting to know the person on a deeper and more authentic level. I wouldn't say this is always present in all relationships, but remember that relationships don't necessarily have to be born out of love. Okay, there are many reasons why relationships happen. But those that are actually like really, really loving, like there's a lot of love between the couple, I rarely see actually. And when I do, I notice that they do get annoyed with one another and they do irritate each other and they do know that the other is imperfect and that they themselves are imperfect as well, but they accept each other wholeheartedly. Acceptance is very difficult for a lot of people, okay, for many, 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 many things in life, okay. Acceptance is very difficult, but acceptance is actually the first step towards, breaking down the barriers and breaking down resistances to things that you actually want to get to or things that you actually want to do. Like, for example, if you are a very, very um, lazy person, like I am sometimes, the first step to kind of, getting towards being less lazy is actually to accept that, yeah, I'm a lazy person. I don't like to do this. um, when you start accepting things about yourself, accepting things about life, I'm going off a little bit on a different tangent, but when you accept things, things actually become easier. Okay, but that is the nature of love. Okay, that is how I see love as well, and I think Bell Hooks has actually really, really encapsulated and summarized it really well. So, knowing what you know about limerence and now knowing what you know about love, would you then think that limerence can be a form of love, right? My answer is not so much. Whilst limerence can feel like it is love, it usually isn't. Okay, and the beginning stages of love, sometimes it can feel like a bit of an obsession. Like you cannot really get the person out of your mind. Okay, but that's at the beginning. Then sometimes the relationship then kind of gets a little bit less anxiety producing and a little bit more stable and calm. Um, Limerence can also feel that way, but limerence, the intensity and the all consuming, obsessive, addictive nature of limerence is not love. Okay. It really isn't the same. So, why is it not the same? So, there are four key things, and ignore the typo in point number three. Okay, that's emotional availability. So, number one, reciprocity. Okay, limerence has little to no reciprocity. Okay, do you see your limerent object actually reciprocating your love, or your interest or your affection? Well, if they are, then you wouldn't be limerent, right? But love, there's reciprocation of some form. Okay. Number two, fantasy versus reality. Almost all of limerence, in fact, I would say all 100% of limerence actually exists in your head. It's a very mental exercise. It's only exists in fantasy land, in mental imaginings of one person. Love, though, does not just exist in one's mind. It's right there. It's available most of the time, and it's right there with you. Okay, the person is right there in your life. Third point, emotional availability. In limerence, emotional unavailability plays a very, very big role. Okay, people are usually limerent for people that they cannot have because the individual is really attached, isn't interested, is far away, like a celebrity, or doesn't even know you, right? In love, your partner is mostly there. Okay, most of the time, emotionally, physically available and present for you. Okay, in healthy love relationships. Okay, all these here I'm talking about the healthy love relationships because there are so many relationships that are not healthy. Okay, the fourth one, cherry picking versus liking the person as they are. So with limerence, one usually cherry picks the qualities that they like about their limerent object. Okay, they're hyper focused on those. They amplify those characteristics, which may not be what is actually true about the person. And you see this a lot with fans, fans of celebrities, where they always only hype up a certain, like, their looks or like certain parts of their character. But we don't know celebrities at all. Yeah, they don't even show us like most of who they are. And it's the same with in-person limerent objects. So like even with person that you are limerent for, a colleague or a friend or whatever it is, you probably know that the person has some not so great sides, but you tend to always ignore that and gloss over that and kind of hype up the person's better sides. Whereas in love, it's very like you just know, both the good and not so great sides of the person, and you still choose to be with them. Like I said, acceptance of each other's flaws and your own flaws, right? That's very, very common in love. And in love, um, you just know that the person that you're with is not perfect. Whereas in limerence, there's always this perfection that you're trying to get to with a limerent object, which is why especially I use this with fans and celebs because it's like the easiest, most accessible example to me. But you see this a lot when when fans actually find out like their celeb is actually not who they say they are, newsflash, they never are. But and they it kind of like some really really nasty news comes out about them, and then you see them kind of defending and going like kind of like having a bit of a meltdown in forum comments or YouTube comments and things like that. And um this is when you keep having to defend the person against like what are very clearly their actions, then you know that you're experiencing some sort of cognitive dissonance, and you're probably not accepting things or seeing things as they are being presented to you. So that's very very classic of limerent cases. Okay. And can limerence then ever turn into love? Okay, can it then move from limerent category into like love category, right? So, in my experience and experience of most of my clients, okay, this is going to sound a bit tough for some people to hear, but going from limerence to love usually does not happen. Okay, some of you might be really really upset hearing this, but actually it is because limerence does not really share any if much similarities with love. Okay, we've been talking about the both so far in this video, but the intention, the feelings, the motivation, the drives behind limerence versus love, they are all different. Okay. The key thing in limerence is also that the limerent individual does not really view their limerent object as a real person with faults and flaws. Okay, said that earlier on. In limerence, the aloe, the crush, is always this perfect, flawless being. There's a huge reluctance to admit or to see that the limerent object is actually a full real person, full of flaws, and is actually probably not a great person sometimes, right? Love involves getting to know the other party on a deeper level, involves putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, risking rejection, um, and hurt, getting to know the other person's dreams, values, qualities on a very real level, putting your own dreams, qualities, your values, your needs on the table for the other person to meet. Okay? Limerence usually involves none of that. In fact, many limerent people are limerent because they are unable to put themselves out there to get to know someone else, okay, for real, because of a fear, okay, of hurt, um, deep fear of rejection, deep fear of abandonment, insecurity, other reasons, avoidant attachment styles that stems from childhood. Um, Deep fear of being vulnerable, fear of being seen. Okay, I see this a lot with limerent people. They just don't like to be seen, so they're always kind of hiding from people, hiding, um, and kind of like pining away for the person from a distance, but never really interacting with the person and getting to know them. Fantasy thinking, is very very common in limerence. It's just all in the head, fantasies all the way, and allowing the fantasy to just or the relationship to just exist in your head is what you're most comfortable with, and it's what is actually most pleasurable as well, because in fantasy thinking the person can be doing anything, behaving whatever way they want. They are not restricted by the confines, I use this with quotation marks, confines of reality, where the person can actually be a jerk, right? The person can actually react in ways that you do not want them to react in. Okay, so limerence struggle with that very much. And it's really a struggle with interacting with other people, and also a struggle with their sense of self. So whenever I actually talk about limerence and trying to move from limerence to love, it actually really, really is a cycle and a journey, but you actually would have to be willing to start it in the first place. So how I work with my clients is that we are always, like right now in this video, we are kind of like in the diagnosis, a bit of the diagnosis phase, right? Why are you limerent? What happened? What happened in your childhood? What happened? What are your, associations with love? What are your attachment styles? Things like that. So these are the things that we'll be talking about, and kind of figuring out like where are the gaps. Okay, and after that we'll talk about healing. strengthening and solidifying yourself, because for a lot of liminal people, the sense of self is very fractured. The sense of self is very unsteady and very easily shaken, which is why a lot of limerent people also struggle with their sense of self, their sense of self-worth, sense of self-esteem. And a lot of limerent people are actually, like I said before, they prefer to keep invisible and hidden. They don't really show themselves, so they don't really show up, they're not very present, right? So the healing phase is all about that. And the next phase, which is something that people who are watching this video and who are interested in moving from limerence to love will probably be interested in, which is once you've done all that work in limerence healing and kind of building a relationship with yourself, you would then be in a space, that great hate space and emotional space, mental space, to be able to attract the love that you want and to be able to attract a reciprocal relationship and people who actually want to love you and who want to be in your life. Okay. And who actually see you as people and you also see them as a person. But going from that to where you are now, it takes a while. Okay. Because it's a journey. There are a lot of things you need to do, but you definitely absolutely can get there, because I got there. Okay, I got from that red part of the circle to the blue part, and then to the orange bit. And I have to say that healing, is always like building a sense of self is a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong path. You don't just finish solidifying yourself and your life will be amazing. Okay, it's always a thing that you always have to be working on, but you absolutely can get from limerence to love, but you need a huge there's a huge process in the middle that you have to be willing to take. um just some things that you can actually take away with you if you would like to overcome limerence. Lots of self-reflection needed. Okay, you really need to understand, like, what are the motivations behind it, why are you limerent, what positive things is it actually bringing to your life. um Self-awareness, what are your feelings, what are your thoughts around it, and how do you feel when you see other people with in a stable relationship, things like that. Start reflecting on stuff like that. Self-awareness is always the key to building a great relationship with you. The next one is to strengthen yourself. Okay. Think about where are the areas of growth that you would actually like to take. What are the areas of the self that you actually really struggle with? Like, for example, for me, for the longest time, I struggled a lot with self-love, which affected how I actually saw love, because I couldn't really love myself. How do I actually then be able to identify whether someone loves me or not? Right? Because all the time I was so bad to myself. I had all these negative stuff that I was always saying to myself in my head. If I was talking like that to myself, how would then be I be comfortable and familiar with people who are saying nice things to me or treating me nicely? Right? So you really, really need to kind of look at your relationship with yourself and how you've been treating yourself, and really, really work to strengthen your relationship with you, because that's the key to everything that you want in life. Okay, and from there, like I said, welcoming genuine love. And in your space right now, try to think about, what does love look like to you? What does it mean? What is a healthy partnership? Okay. It can be very difficult to go from that to a limerent state to that, but look at the couples around you, and identify or look at the ones that who have very healthy, very long-term relationships, and they are relatively happy. What are the ingredients? I have a couple of couples like that in my life, and they're all married. um Interestingly, they are rare. Okay, they are rare. Maybe not so interesting to you, but yeah, they are rare. Most relationships are just normal. Okay, but to really, really experience the love that I'm actually talking about earlier on, when I talked about bell hooks and her definition, it's very rare. And a lot of these couples, they fight, they argue, even in front of me, yes, but they really, really love each other. There's a lot of love, there's a lot of teamwork, there's a lot of mutual care, respect, affection, interest in one another. They excite one another. Okay, they're always talking, they're very honest. Their life goals and values and everything is like the same direction. Okay, so look for ingredients like that in your partners. Look for ingredients like that when you feel healthy enough and well enough, or you feel like you're ready to get out of limerence and start dating. Start looking for healthy qualities of people. Whenever you see not so great qualities, put them aside. Those are not the people for you. The people you want are the people that um they are really there for you. They're in your team. Okay. A lot of people always admire, like, oh, having like rich husbands or handsome husbands or whatever. For me, I've always admired people that have very, very strong relationships with their partners or their spouses that last like decades. Those are the kind of like, yeah, source of my envy. I wish I had that. Okay, I wish I had that. So we all should be working and striving towards, healthier relationships with us and healthier relationships with other people as well. Um, so just to end off, if you really want any help, I have my book out, which I will link in the description box down below, and my one-on-one coaching and therapy sessions are also open. um yeah, let's kind of dive in and just take a look at what you're going through, how you're feeling, and let's just try and work out something so you can get to where you actually really want to be in your love life. And with that, thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope it was helpful, and I would see you in the next video. Thank you.